Oh, hello, along with Broskis and Broskis of the Maverick Nation, and welcome to What If Izuku Was Freaking Scorpion. Yeah, some Mortal Kombat What If. Yay. I had to get that drink for my nerves. Calm myself down. Because I uploaded quite a sum of videos yesterday. Or last time I decided to upload videos, it was quite a sum of videos. Sorry I wasn't able to upload this, but still thinking about what exactly to do for this. Like, what exactly what if do I want to make it? Basically, this is What If Izuku Was Scorpion, Part 1. And how I'm going to do this is, well, let's just say Izuku and Bakugo, you know, they they're neither friends nor enemies. Because, basically they don't know about the whole quirk thing. Like, Bakugo knows that his quirk is explosions because he just figured out what his quirk is. Because, they just got to the doctor, the quirk doctor. And now Izuku's, like, it's the tense moment where Izuku figures out what the hell his quirk is, or if he even has a quirk. He's hoping he has a quirk, at least one that's close to being cool enough as Kachan's. You know, he's him and Bakugo so far have been rivals. It's not really friends, not really enemies, just more or less rivals. And eventually, whenever Izuku does get examined by the quirk doctor asks for Inko to come into the room, and he has something to tell her. Now, unlike in canon where it's like bad news, like you know, he doesn't have a quirk. In this one, it's more or less uncertainty news because his quirk, or at least the doctor thinks it's a quirk. Well, it it's probably a quirk. I mean, you know, like it's just basically what the quirk doctor's trying to tell Inko is like his quirk. It allows him to use fire, but it's not normal fire, Miss Midoriya. And Inko's like, wait, what? What do you mean it's not normal fire? And basically, the quirk doctor's like, the fire, it doesn't really seem to, you know, it's more or less, how even if the person has the quirk to control the fire, that it will still eventually go out. This fire seems to not really obey that. This fire seems to only really go out whenever Izuku wants it to. Or at least that's what I got from observing Izuku using the fire. Or at least that's what I thought he was doing. Izuku didn't really seem to know what he was doing. Maybe he was just mesmerized by the power of his quirks, so he wasn't really paying attention, but I'm not sure. This doesn't really seem to obey the laws of physics, this quirk of Izuku's. Because normally fires eventually they go out. Like, I would think so. That eventually a fire would run out of energy. But Izuku's fire, the way it works, from studying it, it doesn't seem to work that way. It seems that the only way it will go out is if Izuku either wants it to go out or if Izuku's no longer able to control it. Thus, you know, unconscious, dead. And whenever Inko is told this, basically she's like, "So it's still fire, right? I mean, even if it's not naturally like to the laws of physics, it's still fire, right?" And then this is whenever the quirk doctor tells Inko that this fire is also, well, let's just say, they say a blue flame or a white flame is the hottest flame there is. Well, this flame seems to have the attributes of those flames without even being a blue or white flame. Though it does seem to have a lot of black, like, or blackened residue coming off of it whenever the quirk is used. Almost like a sort of hellfire, a sort of type of hellfire is being summoned from the person who is using the quirk. And, Inko's like, "Hellfire?" And basically the quirk doctor's like, "Well, yes, that's the closest thing I can think of that that type of fire would be. I mean, it just really doesn't seem to be from this world. Doesn't seem to follow this world's laws of physics or, chemical reaction. And, well, the heat level, even though it's looks as if it's regular fire, it just has a black residue coming off of it, like a black chain reaction emitting from the regular fire, or not so irregular fire." And and Izuku's like the quirk doctor's like, "The fire, it's unnatural. That's all I have to say. Izuku can name it whatever he wants to name it. Just be careful what you tell him. I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't want the boy to be upset about his power. I mean, at least he has one." And Inko tells Izuku, and Izuku's like, "So it's like a regular fire, but it's like a lot hotter, and there's like black sort of energy that like radiates off of it whenever I use it." Hmm. And you said the doctor said something about hellfire. Well, seeing as it's not exactly fire, but not exactly not fire, I don't see why not. I mean, why should a quirk dictate if you can be a hero or not? I mean, even if this quirk was named Hellfire, I mean, I think I still could become a good hero. And Inko's like, "Yes, sweetie, you can become a good hero if you just put your mind to it, mind and heart to it." And Izuku's like, "Thanks, Mom. And now I know what I'm going to name my quirk." And he's just like, "I just can't wait to tell Kachan what it is and what it does." And basically, he just, ends up meeting up with Bakugo, and Bakugo is like telling Izuku all about his quirk, explosions, and how it works. And Izuku just can't wait to tell Bakugo his quirk and how it works. Basically, first he tells it basically how he was told it works, and basically it is. Basically, what he told Kachan is like he can control like a certain type of otherworldly flames that don't really follow the normal laws of physics, kind of follow their own laws of physics that are attached to the person who created them. So, as long as Izuku's like conscious, like he should be able to keep them like there for as long as he wants to, and put him out whenever he wants to. as long as he's, conscious or, still alive. And, Bakugo's like, neat. So what did you name your quirk? And Izuku's like, well, I don't know if you're gonna believe me whenever I tell you. And like, Bakugo's just like, oh, come on, quit being a pansy about this, Izuku. Just tell me already. And, Izuku's like, well, seeing as the way it operates and the way it supposedly looks, well, I figured that even if I did have a quirk with that kind of name, I could still become a really good hero. So, I decided, with the way it works and everything and the way it's supposedly supposed to look, I think the most appropriate, proper name for it would be Hellfire. And, Bakugo is just like, Hellfire? Not bad. It's actually a pretty badass name, Izuku. Your quirk is Hellfire. Time to prove it to me. See if your Hellfire can match my explosions. And if they can't, then you really don't deserve to be calling it that. And Izuku's just like, okay, you want to test me? Okay. Izuku's like, oh, you want to go there? You want to go there? Okay, let's do this. And so Bakugo throws a couple explosions, and Izuku, he basically is just like, he's gonna throw some explosions my way. Okay, how about you eat some of this? And it's just like, shoot, like a big blast of hellfire just erupts from Izuku's hands, and it clashes with the explosion, and it ignites it even further, and like it just creates an even bigger explosion, but it goes forward like towards Bakugo, and so it just smacks him. And Bakugo is like, "The hell? With one attack, you knocked me down." I guess you know what that means, Izuku, right? And Izuku is just like, "Well, yeah, I beat you." And Bakugo is just like, "Damn straight. As much as I hate to admit it, your quirk somehow seems to be superior than mine." And Izuku's like, "What do you mean somehow?" And they just get into their like little ruckus, and eventually they both go to their houses. And Izuku is like thinking like he shouldn't just solely rely on his quirk. He should, if he wants to truly be a hero, he should find some other ways to become strong too, like physically and mentally, like strong. And so he basically tries some, he's looking for places to where he can like properly train himself physically and mentally. And he comes up across some sort of name. He hears it, and it's like, huh, why does this seem familiar? Hmm, probably nothing. Or maybe it just seems familiar because I really like the name. Yeah, Shirai Ryu. They have a dojo, and that's their fighting style. Shirai Ryu, the fighting style of the Shirai Ryu. I should probably tell Mom first, though. So they're more of a stealth build, yet they also have a really harsh grasp on discipline. So I guess discipline would help with my mental capabilities. And stealth, well, they didn't exactly just say that it was like stealth. So it's probably some sort of like very like kind of like an assassin stealth, not just any regular stealth, like an assassin stealth. And he goes over there basically after telling Inko he's like going somewhere to like help train his body and mind. And Inko's like, if it helps better her son, if it helps him have a better life, she's fine with it. And basically, whenever he gets to the whole entrance to like the Shirai Ryu dojo, and he just sees this person, and Izuku's like, "Hello, sir," and like basically this person's like, "If you are to participate, basically, if you are to train here at this dojo, you will not refer to me as sir. You will refer to me as Grand Master. Preferably Grandmaster Scorpion. Though I will tell you, my name, Hanzo Hasashi." And Izuku's like, "Wait, could you by any chance be related to Hisashi Midoriya? Because those sound really familiar. Hasashi, Hisashi. And he's just like, "Izuku?" And, it's just, "Wait, what? How do you know my name?" And, the guy's just like, "How do you know mine, then?" And Izuku's like, "You just told it to me." And, well, he's like, "Fair point." Izuku, the reason why it seems familiar is because that name is merely an alias. The real name, Hanzo Hasashi, of the Shirai Ryu, granted immortality by the Elder Gods as punishment for certain things that had happened over the course of many Mortal Kombat tournaments. You know, basically, Hanzo basically explains to Izuku everything that he needs to know. And so Izuku basically 2 plus 2 equals 4. You, Hanzo Hasashi, Grandmaster Scorpion, are you my father? And Hanzo Hasashi is like, "It's a good thing you whispered that, boy." Yes. If everything is to connect together like it is, that would be the truth. And Izuku's like, "Well, it is indeed connecting. Like, connecting together. So, wait. Your original name was Hanzo Hasashi? Not Hisashi? Hasashi?" And he's just like, "Yes." It, the whole Hisashi thing, merely an alias. Trying to protect those that I care about. Even if it means doing some things that the Elder Gods frown upon. And is part of the reason why I was given this immortality, this immortal prison. Yet, I did indeed find a way to make the best of it. And this entire dojo is that way. And Izuku's like, is he talking about way like Lao Tzu or some shit? He's just like, no, he's talking about way like, oh, that. Wait, so you've been teaching this whole thing? Why didn't you say anything? I mean, and Hanzo Hasashi is just like, I couldn't. Not with people like Quan Chi. Not with people like them around. You see, I'm not exactly sure if he's dead or alive or not. It's because of him, and which most of my troubles have been happening. And so he just basically explains everything, and Izuku's like, I see. Well, then I guess I can understand. The master of this dojo just so happens to be my father. And don't worry, I won't expect any special treatment because of that. I came here because of what I basically figured out through looking this dojo up on the internet. You guys are really big on discipline and, well, other things. And Hanzo was just like, you're a very smart child, Izuku. I'm glad to see that Inko was able to raise you well. Whenever I'm done with you, eventually, you will be the one to take up the mantle of Scorpion. That is, if you are okay with this. After all, you did come to my dojo, and I am the original Scorpion. And Izuku's like, well, it could be my hero name. And he's and basically Hanzo is like, you're wanting to be a hero, one of the pro heroes. Ah, yes, I see. Do you have a quirk? And Izuku's like, wow, you really haven't been keeping up with me. And like, Orinko. Yes, I do. And it's called Hellfire. And it would probably work exactly how you think a quirk like that would work. And, seems that what you've been telling me, you're probably the reason why I have that quirk. And Hanzo is just like, indeed. And it seems that you came here for physical and mental training, which is why you mentioned the whole discipline part. Yes, you will be disciplined. Very disciplined. I have no favoritisms in this dojo. Everyone is equal in my eyes, just in their own different sorts of ways. You will have to work in order to get to the top and receive this. And he just holds up a medallion, but it's a specific medallion because it has it's like etched into it like what looks like a scorpion thing. This is the medallion of the Shirai Ryu, and only once you have made it to the top will you be able to claim this medallion. It is for only the greatest of our people. And Izuku is like, well, seeing as I am your son, I am a, well, not exactly pure blood, but I am a part of the Shirai Ryu already, you could say. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna go easy on any of these guys. If it comes to the point where I have to go hand to hand with them, or foot to foot, however you want to roll the dice, no mercy. That is unless you want to object to that, Master. Where are my manners? Grandmaster. And, Hanzo is just like, very well then. And yes, you are right. There will be a point in which you'll have to do so. And so it's basically like everyone is just looking and it's like, why is Grandmaster Scorpion talking to that kid? What's so special about him? And why is he showing him off the medallion of the Shirai Ryu? what's so special about this kid? And basically, whenever Hanzo and Izuku are, finished doing the whole little talk, you know, Izuku is like, okay, where do I sign up? And that's like Hanzo just basically points over there, and she's like, Izuku's like, okay, so Izuku Midoriya of the Shirai Ryu. He makes sure to write that part down as well because, with Izuku Midoriya, you wouldn't think that this guy would be a Shirai Ryu because, you know, he it isn't like specifically stated. So he decides to specifically put it of the Shirai Ryu so that they already know who they're dealing with. And several of the other students, whenever Izuku basically leaves because, training hasn't started yet, basically whenever Izuku leaves, several of the other students as they're leaving, they look at like the sign-ups and they see, wait, Izuku Midori of the Shirai Ryu, oh my god. Like, oh my elder gods. Like, um, Grandmaster Scorpion, is this true? It's like they're all saying that. It's like, and basically Hanzo has to inform them, yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, that guy signed specifically that for that reason. you know, he is my son. It is a good deal of complicated. So no questions. Like no questions asked. Like no questions asked. And it would be at the end of middle school and Izuku would take, the path towards the tunnel, but at this point he already had several like pre-classes where like he was basically training with a dummy to like his flexibilities, like his skills, and what the Shirai Ryu specialize in, and doing that to the dummy. That he basically called it his pre-classes. He had already done some of that, and tried his best to be stealthy, but also be very strong whenever he came out to attack. And so, whenever the sludge villain goes to get Izuku, he's like, oh, "Kid, I want your body." And Izuku's like, no thanks. I am not in the mood to deal with pedophiles today." And it's just like Izuku would just leap up into the air, and the sludge villain would try to grab him, but Izuku would basically like surround his body with the Hellfire quirk, and automatically he would reappear behind the sludge villain and just freaking sweep drop kick the sludge villain in the back. And now his leg is lodged in the sludge villain, but that's kind of what Izuku wanted. He torches his leg in the Hellfire, which the Hellfire doesn't hurt him because, the Hellfire doesn't hurt Scorpion, so why would it hurt Izuku, Scorpion's son in this what if? You know, it's just like basically the sludge villain is like, fuck. It's like, damn it, damn it all, shit. He's just like crying out of pain. Like he did not expect this kid to have the ability to surround himself in flames. But he's like, even the sludge villain is beginning to notice these are not regular flames. And Izuku is just like, "You want to let go of me now?" And the sludge villain is like, "Okay, okay, okay." And then All Might just comes down. He's like, "Texas smash!" And the whole scene, basically everything happens in canon except for the part where Izuku fanboys over All Might and ask him, can like someone like me become a hero because he knows he has a quirk. Plus, he's training under his father, who is the real life freaking Scorpion, Hanzo Hasashi. And so, yeah, he would not be fanboying over All Might. He'd just be like, he'd be in Netflix and chill mode. That would basically, you know, big part of the training, like his self training, would be like trying to get into like an inner zen, like a Netflix and chill mode, basically, like his inner zen. And so he'd be cool, but due to some crazy shit that ends up happening, like yeah, like All Might had no idea who was screaming or what was happening, so he used a little bit too much power on that Texas Smash, so he still does power down, and Izuku figures out about Small Might. The whole thing with All Might and Small Might, and Izuku is just like, ah, and he's just like, it's just like, that happens. And eventually after that, the whole thing, like, the last thing that pretty much All Might says to him is like, I'll be like seeing you at UA, because like he's confident that someone with that kind of quirk could possibly get into UA, because it didn't seem like he was like laxing around, like he seemed like he was actually dealing some damage to the sludge villain. But then the whole thing with Bakugo happens, because you know the whole thing with Small Knight happens, so the whole thing with Bakugo has to happen. And Bakugo's stuck in the sludge villain, and Izuku's like, "Oh, for the love of God!" It's just like Izuku's like, "Okay, round two, buddy, round two." And he gets in his, basically, what's it called? Muay Thai is one of Scorpion's stances that he can go into. Muay Thai. Basically, he gets into a stance, like a Shirai Ryu style stance, and he just runs in there, jumps over the railing, and gets in there, and is in his like stance. And the Sud villain is like, oh shit, he's ready to box now. He's ready to mess shit up now. Like, before I surprise attacked him, now he knows I'm here. Like, shit, I am screwed. But wait, I have a hostage. Don't move. I have a hostage. And Izuku's like, dude, you don't even know. You don't even know. He's like, really, really, man? Really, you gonna do this? We're gonna have to go through this a second time? And he's just like, he Hellfire teleports into the sludge villain, grabs Bakugo, Hellfire teleports out of there, and he's just like, see, Bakugo? I am a good help, I guess you could say. And he's like, I could be a good help at times, you could say that. And Bakugo's just like, I don't even have to deal with you, Izuku. I'm still throwing up sludge. And so Izuku's like, oh yeah, that's right, Mr. Sludgy Boy over here. And then Izuku's just like, well, I could go easy on you. Nah. Who do you think I am, bussy? And then he just has like his hands like this, and then whenever he throws them out like that, it just generates a fire freaking skull, like a flaming skull, like a basically a skull made out of fire. It just jets out one of those and blasts the sludge villain with it, and basically the sludge villain is now on fire. And eventually All Might does this whole punch thing, which makes the weather change, and the water just happens. And so eventually the sludge villain, you know, Izuku's like, just to give All Might credit, I'll stop right now, because rain's coming down, and if the fire didn't stop and if the rain came down, you know, it would seem kind of freaky deaky shit. You know what I mean? And so basically, Izuku gets out. He outies himself out of there. He's like, Hellfire teleportation, boom. I was like just booms out of there, like boom chakalaka. And Bakugo is all this time trying to look for Izuku, and he eventually finds his house, and he finds Izuku, and he's actually in the backyard, training, doing one arm push ups like freaking Vegeta. He's just doing one arm push ups, and he's also flexing some on the freaking dummy, doing that self training. And Bakugo's just like, "Hey, nerd, what the hell was that all about? I could have saved myself." And Izuku's like, "Yeah, but I thought we were friends." And Bakugo's just like, and Izuku can like see, like he can basically see it. He can see it inside of Bakugo. Whenever he saved him, he kind of hurt his pride, and he's like, "Did I hurt your pride, man? I'm sorry about that, but you know, you're my buddy, and we're buddies." So I thought, I guess I wasn't thinking, you know, your whole pride thing. If I hurt it, man, I'm sorry. Okay, I know that probably won't be able to make up for it for quite some time or ever, but I guess I guess things like that just happen. Whatever. And Bakugo's like, is like, he gets him. Like Izuku gets him. Like they've been friends for a good amount of time. And so Izuku actually gets Bakugo. He understands like the whole thing about the self pride. And Bakugo's just like, yeah, same here, I guess. And Bakugo just gets to thinking like the kind of training he was doing and basically the moves that he was putting on and like how he was using his quirk and like how he had never seen him create that fire skull before. He must be under some sort of special training. And so Bakugo would be like, he's not the only one who's gonna get special training. I can't let him like get past me. I gotta do something. And so basically Bakugo is just in his room lying on his bed just thinking like what's he gonna do? Like how is he going to like close the gap again? How is he gonna, fix this shit? And so yeah, that would be that. Or would it? No, it would not, because like Bakugo would hear someone tapping at his window, and he'd be like, "Who the hell are you?" And you just see like some all black person with like pure white eyes, and they would just looking like the ninja getup, and basically they would be like, "Come with me if you want special training." And Bakugo would be like, okay, I guess. He would just not know any better. And basically, at a certain extent, whenever they eventually do get to the place or whatever like area, Bakugo would just stop and he'd be like, "Okay, what's your name? I want to know that before we go any further. I mean, if you're gonna drag me all the way out here and even further than that, I don't even know where the hell we're going." And then the person just explains, "I well, if you really must know." I think Bihan was the brother of Sub Zero that was killed. Like the original Sub Zero. I think that was Bihan. If Bihan is the Sub Zero we have now, I'm sorry. But I think Bihan is the Sub Zero that was killed. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. So basically, yeah, if I figure out, I'm probably going to try to figure out if it's Bihan or not. So basically, he just says who he is, and he's like, I was once a member of the Lin Kuei. Scorpion thought me to be the one who was responsible for the slaying of his clan, the Shirarayu. So, he took it upon himself to enter the Mortal Kombat tournament and kill me. The one who is training, well, will eventually be in the process of training. Your friend is Hanzo Hasashi, Scorpion. Basically, is Hanzo Hasashi. Hanzo Hasashi is Scorpion, the one who is responsible for my death. And why I look like this. And basically, Doc goes like, well, sounds to me like you might actually try to get me to betray Izuku, because, the whole vendetta about, Scorpion being the one responsible for your death and thing. And basically, Noob was like, oh, and I forgot to tell you my name. Well, my new name. Noob Silent. Yes, that is my name. Or my new name. Noob Silent. You may refer to me as Grandmaster Noob Silent. And Bakugo's like, okay, whatever. It's just like, okay. And basically, Noob Saibot basically just explains, like, he's like, it would just be the whole thing, like, the Lin Kuei and the Shirai Ryu, basically, they've become friends because Scorpion became friends with Sub-Zero. Eventually they got over their rivalry. Eventually they became friends. So they basically, they united the two clans. The Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei are no longer, fighting with each other. They're no longer, like, having that eternal pissing contest. Well, what eventually, at the time seemed like it was going to be, an eternal pissing contest. But, they basically, got over it, and now the Shiraryu and Lin Kuei are no longer fighting. So, yeah, as per like orders of the Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei himself, that being the current Sub-Zero. And so basically, Noob Saibot, seeing as Sub-Zero, his brother, is the current Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei, he basically has to abide by whatever treaties or pacts that are made in between the Lin Kuei and whoever else. And seeing as that whole thing, that joining of forces, Shiroryu and Lin Kuei, he can't attack Scorpion. Like freaking Noob Saibot can't exact his revenge. Because, if he tries to do that, his bro is gonna whoop his ass. Because, he's the superior Sub-Zero. Because whenever Scorpion killed the first one, this other Sub-Zero, the current Sub-Zero, whooped his ass afterwards. And, that's what started the whole scuffle thing. But now, he can't really, Noob Saibot basically tells Bakugo, even if he really wanted to, which by now it's pretty much run dry, like his drive to combat against the Shirai Ryu in like terms of killing Scorpion, that's kind of run its course. And now the only combat thing in between the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei is more or less friendly contest. Or like if all of Earthrealm is at stake, You know, that kind of ordeal. Like Mortal Kombat tournament. Mortal Kombat! It's like, Mr. Monkey! Oh my god, Doug. It's just like, basically, Noob Saibot is explaining to, like, Bakugo that, even if he really wanted to, which he really doesn't want to anymore because all that shit has run its course. Now it's more or less like it's stagnant. And Bakugo's like, wait, you told me the whole thing about the Elder Gods and Scorpion and being, immortal and all that. But what about the current Sub Zero and you? I kinda get that since you're already dead, it would be hard to kill you again. But what about, the current Sub Zero? And basically, what's said about that is, well, uh, how do I explain this? Basically, what Noob Saibot explains is after the experience of being turned into Cyber Sub Zero and then being turned back into human Sub Zero, yeah, the current Sub Zero had some things going on inside of him which he was not aware of. So technically, all he would have to do is just turn into Cyber Sub Zero again and then turn back into human Sub Zero again. And basically, it would be like he went through the Lazarus pit. He basically has biological, like like cyber technical biological immortality. It has to do with like switching in and out of his human form. Basically like putting on a new suit. If he like does the whole thing like basically if he's about to die, just turn him into Cyber Sub Zero and then whenever all that's done, whenever everything is completely like processed, you know, turn him back into human Sub Zero, and we're GG no Re. So basically, like cyber technical biological, kind of like cell like biological android immortality. So his immortality is more like immortality that he has to keep in check. Scorpion's is just, it was granted to him by the Elder Gods, so, you know, he really has no choice but to be immortal. But Sub Zero, he could just choose to not go into his cyber mode, and then he would be able to die. But, Sub Zero is like, me and Scorpion are friends. Like, me and Hanzo are good friends. And, Hanzo's already lost a lot already. He basically lost all of his original clan to, that version of Sub Zero. Like, you know, he lost and the whole thing that involved Quan Chi. So basically, he's like, Scorpion Hanzo has been done dirty a lot of his life, so, it would be nice for him to have a friend. And so that's why Sub Zero never really let up on his whole, like, cybernetic biologic like, version of immortality. It's basically the Mortal Kombat equivalent of going into the Lazarus pit and coming out. And so that is explained to Bakugo, and Bakugo is just like, well damn. And eventually, like, Noob Saibot and Bakugo get to where, like, he was going to take him. And basically, this is a older version of, like, the current Lin Kuei Temple. This is like a past version which Noob Saibot has been working to restore to its former glory because, he isn't really a big fan of how his brother runs things. Plus, being undead, you know, he wouldn't be a big a fan of a lot of things. So yeah, going through all that strife, he's not really a big friend of Sub Zero or Scorpion. Because he was the previous Sub Zero, and plus Scorpion killed him, and so he just decided that he was going to make his own side of the Lin Kuei, his own like off-brand version. Like there were going to be two temples, like people that wanted to like go with the actual Grandmaster, or people who just wanted to like go like other side. And occasionally Sub Zero would check up on his bro, but Noob Saibot doesn't really like that. He doesn't really like it whenever Sub Zero comes around in his pad. So yeah, that's been happening less and less over time. It's just been that way. And so eventually it is going to get around the time to the whole entrance exam, and at that time it's basically been like, instead of being taught by All Might or Gran Torino, or the both of them, he's been being taught by Scorpion to master his quirk. Plus, the dude's his dad. Like, what a better way to get, like, fatherly son bonding, than to, like, be taught by your father how to be a badass. How to carry on the torch of Scorpion. And so, yeah. Basically, the same thing has been, like, with Bakugo. You know, freaking Noob Saibot has been training him in the, like, second temple of the Lin Kuei. Basically, I'm just going to call it the second temple of the Lin Kuei. The first temple is the one, because the second temple, it's the second temple because it's not a temple run by the Grandmaster, so it would technically be secondary. So the first temple is basically where Sub Zero rules the roost, and the second temple is where Bakugo's being trained by Noob Saibot, or at least he was being trained, because now it's time to basically for like the entrance exam, for them to get in, and secretly, you know, both Noob Saibot and Scorpion are watching, their basically bread and butter, like combatant people, see if they could actually do it, like get in to UA. Because, Bakugo also said that he wanted to get into UA, he wanted to be a hero. He said that to Noob Saibot, and Noob was like, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever. You get a feeling that even though Scorpion's a pretty cold motherfudger, that Noob's even colder. And that's not just because he used to be Sub-Zero. Dude is freaking, like, not in the best of ways at any time. So, yeah. But also, Scorpion ends up running into Sub-Zero, like the current Sub-Zero. And Scorpion is like, dude, the hell are you here for? Like what's the occasion? Like, and Sub-Zero's like, I should be asking you and my brother that. He's like, you should be like looking at him, and basically, you know, Sub-Zero's just like, but I kind of already know with Noob. The only actual training that's been able to survive his training, I believe, is that Katsuki Bakugo. And basically, Noob off to the side would be like, damn straight. Noob Saibot would be like, damn straight. And he'd be proud of Bakugo for the fact that, he was actually able to survive, unlike all the others. Because, Noob has some hardcore ass training. And so does Scorpion, but, like Izuku and Scorpion, Izuku and Hanzo, their blood, so you know they would kind of be able to mesh better. Plus, Izuku already knows how to use his Hellfire, like decent enough. So yeah, it would be considered easier, with those things in mind. And Sub Zero is just like, "Why are you here, Scorpion? You took someone in?" And Scorpion is like, "You took someone in?" Like they're just like asking each other that question. Like they already know about the whole thing with Noob. Well, now Scorpion knows because like Sub Zero just plain up and said it. And Scorpion would just be like, "Well, and Sub Zero would be like, "Fine. I'm pretty damn sure that he's going to get in because, unlike the rest of these, whatever you call them, he has taken the recommendations. He's basically going to get in through recommendations. The recommendation course thing." And, Scorpion is just like, "Oh, so we got a special mother fudger here. So the relationship in between the Shirai Ryu and the Lin Kuei lives on still." And he's just like, he has his hand out, and Sub Zero's like, "Okay, fine, you win." And then they just have that handshake. So it's like, "Brother, you my brother, man." They just like, deep down inside, they are really good friends. They have gotten over their quarrels because they both realize Quan Chi is all the root of that. Shinnok is like Quan Chi's boss for that time. So they've gotten over their problems, and now they're just really good friends. And so basically, Scorpion, after hearing about the whole recommendation course thing, he wants to know who this young lad is, who's going to be getting in through recommendations. And Sub Zero's like, "Oh, you'll know very soon." And basically, Noob just pisses off Sub Zero so much whenever he basically, you know, brothers keep in touch, so Noob would know who Sub Zero means. And Sub Zero would be like, "Oh, are you talking about that Shoto Todoroki kid? That's the kid? Oh my, you have him going in through recommendations?" And, like, Scorpion is just like, "Wait, who? Wait, Todoroki? A member of the Todoroki family? Don't you know about the number two hero is Todoroki, and exactly how he is? Why in hell would you even consider that?" And like Sub-Zero's like, well, why in hell would you consider your pick? I don't even know who it is. And by the look on my brother's face over there, he doesn't know either. And like Noob is just like, "Yeah, who was your pick?" And like Scorpion just points, and it's like Sub Zero is just like, "That kid over there? Oh, he seems to be trying to help that girl calm down." And Noob Sidebite is just like, "He's probably a loser." And like basically Hanzo is like, "That kid is my son." And Noob just shuts up. It's just like, yeah, he probably shouldn't, piss Scorpion off. Because if he can kill him once, he can probably kill him twice. And so, yeah, basically, that's Noob's train of thought. And so Sub Zero's just like, does seem like a unique individual. Hmm. Um, Seeing what it would be like him versus my pick, Shoto Todoroki, that would be a match to die for indeed. And Scorpion's like, well, don't get too uh ambitious here, buddy. I mean, come on. You know, just don't get too excited. And so basically, that's where I'm gonna leave it off. And the analysis, because the Action Maverick is OUT out of here. Yeah, boys. Bye.